Hi everyone, my name is Emma and welcome to Science with Emma. I think that's what we're calling this series. This is the first episode, so I really don't need to know what's going on right now. That's my excuse. For those of you that don't know me, I'm doing a master's degree in astronomy, space science and astrophysics, which basically means I learn a lot about space and also physics and mathematics, and I'm now going to be making educational videos talking to you guys about those things. They're going to be super fun, super accessible, they're going to go from like really easy concepts to way more difficult concepts, but they're all going to be explained in like really simple terms. Today, for the first episode, I'm going to be talking to you about comets, asteroids and meteors. I'm going to be explaining what they actually are and what the difference between them is, and I'm going to give you guys some fun facts as well, because fun facts! Comets, asteroids and meteors. These are probably terms that you've heard before describing just large chunks of rock in space. Occasionally, you know, crashing down to Earth, killing some dinosaurs, occasionally providing some obstacles in a sci-fi chase scene. However, very few people actually know what they are or what the difference is between them. Lots of people use the terms completely interchangeably, even though there is quite a significant difference. And so that's what we're going to cover. So what do they all have in common? Well, they are all what is known as a small solar system body. And that is, broadly speaking, anything orbiting the sun that isn't a planet or a dwarf planet or a man-made satellite. So any bits of dust, chunks of rock, anything, that is a small solar system body. And asteroids, comets and meteors all fall under that broad definition. So these small solar system bodies can range from tiny little dust particles all the way up to asteroids that are hundreds of miles across. There's a huge range of sizes. They are all objects left over from the formation of our solar system. So as dust particles were orbiting the sun, they all started grouped together, and most of them made up planets like the Earth or Jupiter. However, some of them didn't quite make it, and so they're now left as tiny little dust particles or bigger chunks of rock. So we're going to look at specific definitions for these types of bodies, comets, asteroids, etc. A comet is a celestial body that appears as a fuzzy head, usually surrounding a bright nucleus, that has usually a highly eccentric orbit that consists primarily of ice and dust that often develops one or more long tails when near the sun. An asteroid is defined as any of the small rocky celestial bodies found especially between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. A meteor is any of the small particles of matter in the solar system that are directly observable only by their incandescence from frictional heating on entry into the atmosphere. And a meteoroid is a meteor particle itself without relation to the phenomena it produces when entering the Earth's atmosphere. And a meteorite is a meteor that reaches the surface of the Earth without being completely vaporized. That was a lot of words, but don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you. So asteroids generally reside in the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter, and so it's basically an orbit like a planet, except it's just filled with asteroids. So asteroids can be very small, but they can also get to much larger sizes than comets can, and they can be hundreds of miles across, with Ceres, which is our largest known asteroid, measuring about 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers in diameter, which is roughly the same size as Texas. Asteroids are made of metal as well as carbonates and silicates, which is what makes up rock. And like I said, they tend to be in this asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, so most of them have roughly circular orbits, though some of them have more elliptical orbits, and they can come in and completely just cross Earth's orbit. That's how one killed the dinosaurs, essentially. Most of the time we miss them though, which is pretty good. So by comparison, comets are much smaller than asteroids. They're generally about 6 to 25 miles across in their core bit, which is called the nucleus. They also come from far further out in the solar system, past the orbit of Neptune, from a region known as the Kuiper Belt, or also from another region which is even further out, known as the Oort cloud. These comets have highly elliptical orbits. That means they go really far out into the solar system, and then they come swinging back around, and they'll come really close to the sun for a short period of time before swinging right back out again, as is shown here, hopefully, if I can get diagrams to work. So for a comet, a single orbit can be more than 200 years. In fact, comets with an orbit of less than 200 years are known as short period comets, and anything longer is a long period comet. They are mostly made of rock and ice, which is very interesting because that means that when the comet comes close to the sun, the ice all melts and it forms a kind of like an atmosphere around the nucleus, which is called a coma. As the comet is flying through space, the coma extends outwards along the end, creating that distinct tail that we all know is so iconic. So while that central nucleus of the comet is only about 25 miles across, the coma can be hundreds of thousands of miles across, and the tail can extend for up to 2 million miles, which is a huge distance. Now, a meteoroid is just a general space rock. This could have been a piece of rock that just broke off from a comet or an asteroid. When a meteoroid enters our atmosphere, it becomes what is called a meteor. And if it makes it to the Earth's surface without completely burning up, we call it a meteorite. So they're just different stages of the same piece of space rock, which is why it's often so confusing as the difference between them. Finally, some fun facts for you all. Firstly, asteroids in the asteroid belt are actually really far apart. If you stood on top of an asteroid, you probably wouldn't be able to see another one, unlike how it looks in science fiction films. As I explained, comets are made up of rock and ice, and I talked about the ice melting. Well, some scientists believe that that's how we got water on Earth. Melting ice from passing comets landed on the surface of our planet and water just kind of happened. Comets were once thought to be bad omens, usually symbolizing the death of someone important. And actually one showed up in the sky just a few days after the death of Julius Caesar. Later on they became much more positive omens, which is really good. And now they're referred to as shooting stars. Finally, while large meteorites are very rare, micrometeorites, which are just a few millimeters across, are so common on Earth, and you can find them pretty much anywhere if you know what you're looking for. And I will link a book down below which explains about finding meteorites on Earth. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and also pop some suggestions for more things that you'd like to learn about in the comments. Thank you for joining me for Science with Emma.